Levy County Sheriff detectives have assured us that LIEnette and John CROOK will be arrested. We had another significant meeting with Levy County detectives this week in regards to a number of different things. Now, some things we're going to share with you, some things we're going to hold close to the chest. One of the main things that we talked about and discussed was LIEnette and John CROOK showing up at the last town hall meeting at 4:45, calling the Levy County Sheriff Department saying, "Hey, we're here, Jeremy and George aren't," showing up almost 3 hours early with a toddler trapped in the car with them, which in my opinion is not okay in the first place, and then violating the civil protection orders we have on them. If I show, if George shows, either one, without exception, they must immediately leave. Now you're thinking, well, Jeremy, you have a temporary injunction on you as well. And yeah, I do, which means if we're both there, I have to leave. But George is there, they have to leave. If I'm there, they have to leave. You get where this is going? Regardless, if George and I are there, they have to leave. They violated that civil protection order for over an hour and a half. Ohio courts are going to deal with it. There's no doubt whatsoever. Florida is now assuring us they're going to deal with it as well. Under no exceptions, no what ifs, no buts, no what about. They must leave. There is no reason at all that they can be there. None. Nothing you can come up with, nothing they can come up with, nothing where they say, Beecham told us we could. The answer is no. And the Levy County detectives, the head detectives, have now told us they are going to handle everything personally with this violation. This violation, once George submitted the videos of them breaking the violation for over an hour and a half, they are going to go back and arrest if deemed an arrestable offense. So, that being said, they're going to work with the state attorney and they should be arrested soon. Now, some of you are thinking the same way George and I are thinking. Yeah, right. Actually, prove it. And they're telling us they are going to prove it. As a matter of fact, they're telling us that no street deputies, no rookie deputies are ever going to be assigned to come out on call to Otter Creek again. Only supervisors in the department. So we've talked to the top dogs. They are only going to send supervisors out to arrest CROOK and LIEnette when they violate the civil protection again. Every supervisor except one, Tom Martin. That's right. The husband of Amanda Martin. That's right. The Levy County victim's advocate. The mom, if you can call her that, of Stephen the Rat Cunningham, who assaulted and battered me. Tom Martin is the only supervisor who will not be sent out to Otter Creek. Only supervisors will be sent to Otter Creek to deal with LIEnette and John CROOK to arrest immediately upon violation of civil protection orders. Will it truly happen? Well, we're going to find out because there's another town hall meeting in just a number of days. And you're thinking, wait, they called the sheriff department to let them know that they're going to be and they are at town hall and nobody's there almost 3 hours early? Yeah, letting them know, hey, we plan on violating and breaking the civil protection orders, which we can't be here under any circumstance. And now every single supervisor, every single deputy has a copy of those civil protection orders, and they have been told through email. They all have it on email now. There are no exceptions. Arrest upon violation. Period. End of story.
Did she just throw herself under the bus again?
Dumb can you be to call the sheriff to say, hey, just want to let you know I'm going to break the law. Hey, just want to let you know I am wanting to be arrested. Yeah, this is LIEnette. Oh, wait, here's CROOK. You want to talk to CROOK? My knee is septic. I guess I'll see you on the screen. How foolish do you have to be to turn yourself in and snitch on yourself, literally letting the authorities, the law, know, I'm going to break it. This is the same mentally unstable woman who's crying to a judge saying, Jeremy's putting me all over the media. I got a question. Who is the one that put this in the media, in the paper? Yeah, not Jeremy. It was LIEnette calling the media because she wants to promote herself, that she is opening her home. Struggling mom adopts sickly baby. Could you imagine being this child growing up and finding this newspaper article, knowing that your adopted mom called you a sickly baby, had the news come and do a story on you? And this isn't the only one. There's many. There's even articles that she had the news cover about us, her new neighbors. What the hell's? Talking about all of our subscribers. Kind of crazy, don't you think, that she would go and run to a judge and say, no, they're telling everybody about what I'm doing, what I've done. Or her crazy fans that literally sit there and let the world know they're stalkers too, as if we don't know they're stalking us. Let's be real. Mark Feather could have had this done in 15 minutes. But he's not as good as Judge Grudge.
I think we resolved 5 cases in an hour and a half, maybe 6, I don't know. Sometimes I resolve 10 in less than an hour.
Kiki Hammond says at some point she's going to have to wake up and she's going to realize she can make this all end. She's going to figure out she has the power to withdraw her petition and put this case to rest. Okay, Kiki. The reality is, yeah, she can withdraw her petition, but she's too deep now. She's got so many lies wrapped up into this. If she withdraws her petition, all the lies unravel and unfold. Now, you and I realize that all these lies are going to unravel and unfold in court anyway. And because she actually filed this petition, because she kept running to the court and she kept filing these additional Jeremy broke the temporary injunction, which, by the way, the state attorney sent me a letter today. They have dropped every accusation that she's made. They are not pursuing any accusation she's made whatsoever. I got all the paperwork in the mail today. State attorney went, Jeremy, you never broke the injunction. I know I never broke the injunction, and she knows I never broke the injunction. But because she kept running to the courthouse stating that I did, we were able to get all the handwriting samples we need to then analyze that with a forensic handwriting expert with the signs that were posted all over Otter Creek, and then determine with complete and total 100% authority that LIEnette was the one that placed those signs. Half of them. She worked with somebody else. And that handwriting for the other person, we have not confirmed yet. We're still searching. We have suspects, and online is a beautiful thing. There are legal documents online for people. There are signatures for names on documents. We have not matched it up yet. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking it was John Crook. It's not John Crook. Believe it or not, we've already looked at everything. We've had it analyzed. It's not Crook. Okay, I know what you're thinking. It was one of those rug addicts that was living in a tent and living in her shed. Well, you are correct. That is one of the individuals that is a suspect in this. Oh, but you're thinking, I bet it was somebody that was living over on the campground in Shady Oaks. You are correct. That is another subject that is under investigation for these signs. You understand, if she didn't file for the petition, if she didn't start this in the first place, she would never be in the circumstance that she's being sued in federal court right now for extortion, for slander, and a list of other things. Crook is being sued for those exact same things as well. And that comes from all of their posts on Facebook, the hate groups, and other individuals that they incited to do the same. You understand, what they did is not protected speech. What we have done, we just exposed for who they really are, what they were really doing, and we showed the truth. We, as journalists, showed what was really happening, told what was really happening, and now they're in the situation that they find themselves in. Now, I'm curious. She was so thrilled to get away from Northport. She even posted a picture on Instagram. My new neighbors, what the hails? Hearts on the mend. You think she misses Northport yet? So Kiki, even if she tries to withdraw the petition, none of this goes away. She's still in federal court. She's still in Ohio court. She's not going to withdraw because for the first time in her life, she's getting promoted all over the world. For the first time in her life, people are sending her money. Can you believe anybody so gullible, being scammed, being conned to send $7,000, to send $3,000, to send even $1 to this woman? She's getting more money and more donations than she ever has before. For her, she thinks she's on top of the world. Of course, she can't think. We realize that. You realize that. This woman can't think of the ramifications and the consequences of what this means down the line. She's on disability. All of these donations must be claimed on disability. All of this must be claimed. And because so much is coming in, that disability is going to go away just like that. Mad Dog Phrase says, now that this is in the federal courts, can you not request the temporary protection order against you be lifted? Also, can it allow you to access your property from all access points? Another point, if the judge was giving legal advice to LIEnette, the federal court should rule that the judge was not acting in the judicial capacity. If the judge says he can rule 10 cases per hour, I wonder if the federal courts could review the case that the biases, yeah, he's a bias, has ruled on to see if the verdict was unsafe. So let's answer question number 1 first. If the case is in the federal courts, can you not request the temporary injunction to be lifted? All right, since it is in the federal courts, that is something completely different that I'm suing her for. That's a completely different lawsuit in the federal courts right now. So remember, she's taking me to county court for an injunction. The judge, the biases, really DeThomasis, but he's so biased, he might as well be DeBiasis, right? He is placing this temporary injunction on me based on her stating that Mark Feather, 15 minutes, she said, he didn't say, she said that he tried to bribe her. Then he goes, boom, temporary injunction on Jeremy. Up to that point, there was nothing whatsoever, right? And frankly, I can't fathom or understand how he can place something on me based on what she says a lawyer said. Go figure that one out, right? Okay, so understand that she's in county court. She's being sued. It's a whole different lawsuit in the federal court. So you're saying, can we ask for the temporary injunction to be lifted in the federal court? The lawsuit in the federal court is completely and totally different. It is literally 2 different lawsuits. Now, the county court lawsuit is now going up into the higher courts to evaluate whether Judge Grudge, Judge DeBiasis, Judge DeThomasis will be removed completely from this because of all of his wrongdoings, all of his bias, all of his lack of impartiality, right? And so the higher courts are going to decide, man, this guy is messed up and he's gone, or they're going to decide, this guy did all right. He's good. Let him keep ruling on it. Even if we go into Judge DeBias's courtroom again, and he does get an opportunity to rule on this. Remember, he is temporary removed. He is removed from all of this right now. It's in the higher courts. He's temporary removed. They'll determine whether he's permanently removed. Even if we go back in the courts, we already know he already has all of his plans made. He has tipped his hat so many times in court already. He is looking to place a permanent injunction on me. Not based on anything I've done at all. You already know that's going to be appealed. It's going to go in the appellate courts. And frankly, if it has to go all the way to the Supreme Court, it will. This isn't going to end anytime soon. So understand 2 different courts, 2 different issues. Now, your second question, allow access to your property from all access points. That is going to have to be fought in the higher courts as well. Okay. So he legally cannot keep me from driving on a public road. And he has. So judges who think they are above the law, such as DeBiasis, thinking he can keep me off of a road, which he cannot, and I'm respecting that at this point in time. I will fight that in the appellate courts to get my right to drive back on my road. All right. So understand that the federal court isn't going to do anything about that. That's going to be the higher courts in the county court system to actually do something about that. And I will fight that and I will respect it, even though it's illegal. He took away my right for freedom of speech and yours. And we fought for that, and we're going to continue to fight for that. And by the way, that's a civil lawsuit against the state, what he's done to me and what he's done to you. He's taken away my right to bear arms. He's taken away my right for due process. He's taken away my right for a speedy trial. He's taken away, I could keep going on, and access to all my property. He has broken so many civil right rules, it's ridiculous. All right, and the next one, if he can do 10 cases per hour, I wonder if federal courts can review the cases Tobias has ruled on and see if the verdict was unsafe. All right, so for the aspect of the federal courts to actually rule, somebody would have to take it to the federal courts. And frankly, I don't even know if they could take it to the federal courts. What they would do is they would file an appeal and it would go to the appellate courts in the county. It would go the higher up into the county to the appellate courts versus the actual federal court. I know that was a lot there. Hopefully it answered all three of your questions. Christopher Adams asked the simple question, is there literally, at its core, is it possible to do anything against this judge? He says, can you put a claim in against the judge because of the reason that the things are going on? He's dragging things out, refusing to listen to the evidence from Ohio. So here's the problem with our system, okay? You may think, if you're a judge, you think this is great. You have what's called immunity. In other words, nobody can bring a lawsuit against you no matter what. Although there may be some rare incidences where the state can do something, the governor can do something. And frankly, I don't understand all of that, and I don't have all the information to that. What I can tell you is they have immunity to the point where I can't file a lawsuit against Judge Grudge, against the Thomases, okay? So me as a resident, you as a resident, you can't file a lawsuit against the judge. They have what's called immunity. Now, that becomes a problem in the system because when a judge thinks they're untouchable because they're immune to any kind of recourse or consequences for the poor decisions or the breaking of the law that they did, that just enables them to keep breaking the law. For example, as George and I were with the Levy County Sheriff Department for a very, very long meeting, and we were talking to the top detectives, we literally told them all this department has done is further enable LIEnette and Crook to think that they can get away with breaking the law. And you know what they said? You're right. We agree with you. That's exactly what we've done because we have not upheld the law. And I then went on to say, do you understand the amount of liability you have placed this station in and this state in, the state of Florida? And they went, yeah, we do realize it, and it's not good, and we're going to correct it. And so when they don't do their job, when the deputies who are told by the state attorney, don't arrest, don't do what you legally, Florida state and federal law says they have to, and they have literally in writing been told not to, the amount of legal liability the state is in now. Because all I have to do is come in and file a civil lawsuit against them. Or something much bigger than that. And now the state is in huge amount of liability for not doing their job. And what you've done is you've literally taught LIEnette that we're going to call the sheriff, and you've taught John Crook, we're going to call the sheriff, and deputies are going to come out and do nothing at all. And so they've empowered them to continue to think that it's okay to break the law. Now, they're promising us it stops immediately, and they're going to go back and they're going to arrest. Whether it happens or not is a whole nother story. We're waiting, anticipating, and maybe when they finally get arrested, they'll finally stop breaking the law. That's the hope and the goal, right? But when it comes to a judge and nothing happens to them, you empower them, you embolden them to keep doing the wrong thing. So who knows how many people Judge DeThomasis has done this to? And here's the interesting part. More and more and more people keep coming forward, not just telling us about DeThomasis, but telling us about the relationship between Silverman and DeThomasis. This is interesting how all of this keeps, all these stories keep pulling together. There's so many layers and so many layers, and there's this huge story that's just ready to burst and to break. And it all it all fits together with all these players in it. The only person that really can go after Judge DeThomasis is the governor, or you have the Judicial Review Committee or Qualification Committee, the JQC, and they can come in and go, whoa, 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 and they can knock that judge off of the bench. Evelyn wants to know, are you paying the judge? I mean, literally, this man talks and talks and talks. He has his own YouTube channel. It's not like What the Hales and dead silence is deafening, right? You never want dead silence. But this man is in a courtroom. He's supposed to remain silent. He's supposed to listen. And she says, do you pay the judge also for the time he's judging your case? Maybe he's making this case go so long so he gets money from you. If you get a favorable result from the upper courts, would you get the money back? So Evelyn, this judge is based on a state-approved salary for not only him, but for all judges. So they get a base salary for judgment, and it's a lot of money. You and I would think it's a lot of money. Most people would think it's a tremendous amount of money. So him extending everything doesn't generate any more income for him, and I don't pay him, I pay my legal counsel. And the longer he extends things, the more I have to pay in legal fees. Now, the one thing that I can do is I can sue or countersue LIEnette for legal fees. Now, you're already thinking, how are you going to get anything out of LIEnette? Well, the reality is the only things that she has is a camper. Oh, wait, now there's 2 illegal campers on the property. A Jeep. And who in the world would want that nasty thing anyway? I'm sure it stinks so bad, just like a piece of property. The property and maybe a few odds and ends that she has begged from people and conned people out of. But the reality is countersuing her for all the fees that I currently have, which is $125,000 between Ohio and Florida. I'll never be able to get that out of her. But the courts can make a judgment and say she has to pay, and they can seize all of her property, and all that property will go up for auction and the whole deal. Now, the other part is we've also filed for Silverman, because this is a frivolous suit as it is anyway. Silverman can be held liable for 50% of all of my legal fees. So if the courts approve, you have to understand, just because we filed a motion, we filed lots of motions on DeThomasis, right? We filed 3 times for him to disqualify himself. Did he? Nope. Denied it 3 times. Is DeThomasis ever going to approve anything I file? No. Which is one of the reasons why we need an unbiased judge. But there is the hope that we can get 50% of all legal fees out of Silverman, and he does have the funds. And then LIEnette would be held responsible for 50% as well, and then the state would come in, seize the property, it would all go up for auction. So that's about the only way we're going to be able to get anything out of a dry udder that has no more milk. YMS says, the good thing is LIEnette's face is out there now. The story is out there now. There's exposure. And since there is, then maybe somebody else will be saved from her scams and cons. And I got to agree with you, YMS. The more that we can get the story out, the more that you can share the story, the more that everybody viewing can share the story, the more people that can be saved. Now, you have to understand, through all of this, and it's been horrific, there have been positives that have happened through this. So when I started to film the property and all the hazards on the property for the child, guess what started to happen? They started to actually remove the hazards. So here's a positive thing. Quality of life for the child has increased in the aspect of less hazards. When fish and game were called out, the quality of life for the animals has increased, and that has limited hazards because somebody is now holding them accountable. The story is out there. The truth is out there. It's being exposed. So Crook is out there. It's so funny this week. Crook is out there. He's taking videos, which by the way are self-incriminating because they have no permit for a campground, yet now they have 2 campers on the property, which is illegal. And so self-incriminating yet again. This is how stupid they are. I can't believe how dumb they are. I literally can't believe how dumb they are. But at the same time, Levy County Sheriff and deputies have emboldened them. They've enabled them to keep going, well, I can break any law I want and nothing's going to happen. So they're out there filming, and Crook's out there going, oh, well, yeah, don't believe everything you see. Don't believe everything you see. It's not true. My property is perfect. Everything that was shown is exactly the way it was. The only reason why any of it got corrected is because it was shown, it was exposed, the story was told. And so the positives are, hopefully, this saves a child's life. Hopefully, this saves the community members and the residents of Otter Creek's lives. Remember, there have been fire going off all over town by a rug addict or two. And hopefully this saves some animal lives. Elaine Ellis says, how come they got their uns? But Jeremy, yours have been removed. Well, with the Ohio civil protection orders, unfortunately, the judge made a little slip up. One of the reasons why we got civil protection orders because were the threats from the uns. And she didn't mark in there to have the uns removed. With the temporary injunction here in Florida, the Thomases did mark to have the uns removed. So we're looking to get that corrected immediately from a judgment from Ohio. And so that will then come down here to Florida, and then Levy County Sheriff will actually have to go and seize all the uns. Now, they know that already, and you know that already. So we already know Crook purchased an un from somebody in the campground at Shady Oaks a little while back. So it's not registered in his name. We know he has it. He knows he has it. You think Levy County Sheriff are going to be able to do anything if it's hidden? No. He's going to lie about it. Remember when he pulled the firearm out on me in the first place and the deputy went over and the deputy then tells me his conversation with John and he says, yeah, John said he never did it. And then he told John, I saw the video. And then he goes, well, I got a septic brain. And then the whole story from John and LIEnette became, he tripped in a hole and he had a hole in his pocket. What in the world is the thing doing in your pocket if you got a hole in your pocket? What in the world are you doing walking out threatening people with a un if you can't even walk? I mean, the list goes on and on and on to just debunk all of these lies that continue to be told over and over again. So the reality is this. Ohio screwed up, and we're looking to get that fixed with the last hearing that happened January 10th. That's still waiting for all of the order to come from the judge. We are waiting patiently. It's been over 2 months. It's ridiculous. The judge is trying to figure out how to make Levy County and how to make the state of Florida to actually do their job and arrest those two. And so that's kind of new ground, even though federal law says they have to do it, even though state law in Florida says they have to do it. Ohio is fighting with Florida going, why aren't you doing this? You have to do this by law. And she's trying to figure out how to make sure that that happens within those orders, right? And so while they have uns and my uns, I have none anymore under this temporary. Remember, they have permanent, I have a temporary. It's just the way it is right now. Is it right? Not by any stretch of the imagination, but there's nothing I can do but respect the order given by the Thomases, even though I don't respect him as an individual or a judge. Lisa says, if John Crook is disabled, the man shouldn't even have an un. He could be arrested for having one, and you have him on film. A turn off of your settings on your phone, then if they're tracking your phone, they won't be able to. Okay, so Lisa's trying to tell us how to find out if there's a tracker on our vehicle, which there's a possibility of that. We're still trying to get to the bottom of how Levy County deputies knew exactly where we were in a county commissioner meeting that we've never attended before in our lives. We don't have that answer yet. Nobody's been willing to give us that answer. But the real question is he disabled? Well, if you take LIEnette's word for it, LIEnette's disabled. Apparently she can't even hold a gallon of milk. And then she went on an entire post, which by the way, she then dirty deleted. She went on an entire post ranting because she was called out in the aspect of can't hold a gallon of milk, which she herself has posted. I'm going to read some of this. So there's groups out there that are on a slam campaign against me. Well, I mean, really, it's not a slam campaign. It is the truth campaign. Taking such garbage, and lie after lie after lie. You don't know me. You've never met me. Yuck! And You don't know what I say or what I've said or what I've done. I've never said I can't carry a gallon of milk. She literally says right here, I've never said I can't carry a gallon of milk. Oh, but what happened is the receipts, the screenshots, the proof showed up that she did say she can't carry a gallon of milk. And guess what happened to the post after she was called out on yet another lie? She dirty deleted it. You know, this is the same thing she did in Ohio court January 10th. She went, Judge, he's lying. He's lying. Those aren't screenshots from me. She goes literally in the Zoom cam, you can check my Facebook page right now. And the judge looks at her through Zoom and goes, I don't care what's on your Facebook page right now. I care what was there. As if she's somehow gonna get it over on the judge that she didn't delete it. And she deleted this as well because the world called her out on, yeah, you posted you can't carry a gallon of milk. So she says she's so disabled, she can't even carry a gallon of milk. Her arthritis is so bad. She says degenerative disc disease, bone disease. And yet we see her, she can't carry anything. And yet we see her nonstop all the time, even calling Channel 20 and getting mad that Channel 20 didn't put her on the news spot about Otter Creek. And she's holding a child the entire time for a tremendous amount of time. And yet we saw no pain. Yet we saw no disability. We saw perfect walking. We saw nothing. We saw literally nothing that would scream out disabled. Now, what I can tell you, in my opinion, she's abusing the system. Again, I can't prove it, but it's my opinion, and my opinion is what it is. It's an opinion on what I've seen and the evidence I've seen. She claims that the child is disabled. All right, so life-threatening, metabolic disorder. First of all, not life-threatening. Okay, there are plenty of people that have this metabolic disorder. You can't digest proteins. You know how you fix it? You don't eat proteins. You fix it by adjusting your diet. That's simple. Really that simple. Could you imagine being that child and being told on a daily basis, being posted upon on a daily basis, looking back as an adult, looking at all these posts on a daily basis, knowing that somebody who was supposed to love you constantly told you, you have a life-threatening metabolic disorder. You could die at any time. Do you know what that's going to do to that child up here? I mean, that's going to destroy a child. This child is no different than any other child. Needs love, needs nurturing, not getting it, in my opinion, needs acceptance, needs other children to learn social skills, to learn how to interact with other people. What is she currently getting? John Crook and LIEnette screaming and cussing each other out constantly, nonstop. She hears it all. She's getting all of the negative, none of the positive. Being told that you have a life-threatening. Could you imagine being in fear every single day going, you know what? And believing, I have a life-threatening. When you don't. You just don't eat the proteins that you can't digest. It's that simple. She also claims that Crook is disabled. Oh, he just had a knee replacement. Okay. Remember, the bandages all the way up to his crotch. Like anybody wants to see that, right? We already know how small his driveway is. And he protects it with a futon frame. Now, anybody who actually thinks a futon frame is going to be a protective measure of security as a gate, you know what? The disability's probably up here. Maybe she's right. Maybe they all are disabled. George, Linda wants to know how you're feeling and how you're doing. So I'll tell you what. Here's what we'll do. Let's do a flipperoo. Look at this. I'm here on the planet right now, and oh, look at that. George and I are flipping. Linda wants to know, George.
Linda. Very tense up in here, I think, from all the stress. I'm still taking counseling, and
You had a session this week.
yeah, I've been doing virtual because my counselor is up north. Tons of praying. My counselor even prays for me, and overall, aside from like the anxiety and the stress and like the emotional distress, like physically, just really tense. So I think I need a massage.
That's my cue. I gotta go.